I have no idea what I'm doing. Probably just clipping the mic anyway. Alright, so I promise there's a reason I'm wearing a welding jacket and sitting at a drum set. If you don't know, maybe you saw my last video and you do know, I say that I can play guitar a little bit. I also play a few other instruments, bass, a little bit of piano. Why is this key sticking? The stuck key, I think, was because this pad in here was a little bit tight, so I kind of loosened it up a little bit. And see how it doesn't quite return. If I push a little bit here, I don't know if you heard that. It was a little bit of a thunk. This part here is adjusted too high. I screw that in just a little bit. This is not the video I wanted to make today. It's the theme song to PJ Masks. Anyway, I thought I'd teach myself drums. Of course, the first thing I did was look up all the physics of drums and how to tune them, and after I obsessed about all that, I started researching cymbals because I had to buy some cymbals. These didn't come with the drum set that was for sale. So I had to buy these cymbals, and I got the cheapest ones. And I got to thinking about why are they cheap, and did some research. What makes a cymbal expensive? There's not really like a very clear, I mean, the metal has something to do with it, but there's also kind of an art to actually crafting cymbals. So then, of course, I started looking into, can you make your own cymbals, or can you modify them? Can you do something to make crappy cymbals sound good? If it's not the right kind of metal, there's probably not much you can do, but if it is the right kind of metal, just a cheaply made stamped cymbal, then there might be some hand-working processes you can do to make them sound a little better. And apparently there are people who are like relathing cymbals. Like they'll get like a broken cymbal, cut it down, or they'll take a cymbal and they'll kind of make it thinner. And well, this is a perfect candidate. Yeah, see, it just doesn't have that nice. If I were able to maybe thin these cymbals out a little bit, I don't know. Maybe it'll sound better. It will certainly sound different, I would think. That's my project today. I want to make a lathe for hand-turning cymbals. Here's the cymbal. And I think I'm going to design the lathe kind of around this one. I don't know if that hole in the middle is a standard size. I'm hoping it is. This is a 16-inch crash. I think I'm going to make it so I can accommodate something a little bit larger, maybe 18. Oh hey, it's Future Dennis at the lathe, and I just realized I probably didn't explain this very well. So what I'm making is basically a spinning flat disc that I can mount the cymbals to, so that I can use a hand scraper kind of tool to then shave off, almost like you would see a wood lathe, like the same idea. But I'm going to be hand shaping the cymbals. And the other thing that I haven't explained yet is that I also want to use this lathe to make very large diameter aluminum pulleys. On my sawmill, I need a larger drive wheel, and they kind of start getting expensive when you need big aluminum pulleys. So I thought, since I'm getting into casting too, this is kind of like a pie in the sky idea, that I can cast a pulley and then turn it on this machine that I'm making, the same way I'd be turning a cymbal. The end goal is this thing I'll be able to make like really large diameter aluminum pulleys. I don't know if that's going to work at all, but... And as always, you guys are going to come along for the design portion of this, because I don't know how to build it yet. I don't even know what I'm building, really. But I'm going to take inventory of my parts here, see what I got. I've got 2 motors. I've already started looking at each of them, and although this shaft is a little chewed up, this is a little bit beefier. It's a 3/4 horsepower. This is only 1/2 horsepower. And the small pulley that I have that I wanted to use is actually, I think it's like a 1/2 inch shaft. It fits right on here nicely. So I think I'm going to go with this motor. Oh, and they're both 1725 RPM. Which is nice because I don't want this thing to go very fast. In fact, let me talk about what we're doing here. So here's our cymbal, It's some kind of bronze, or this is probably just brass. And the cutting speeds for bronze or brass is about 200 surface feet per minute. So at the end of a 16-inch crash like this, at a 8-inch radius, you want to go something around, 50 RPM, I believe. That's like a 35-to-1 reduction from a motor like this. So if this was a 3600 RPM motor, then you'd need 70-to-1. So 35-to-1 is going to be hard for me to achieve even with the parts that I have here. But let's see what else we got. My brand new parts bin here. I got some belts. I do have this pulley. Ooh, and that fits on there nicely. And I've got this one. And of course, since I'm upgrading my bandsaw, I can scavenge some parts from here. There we go. Ooh, that's heavy. Alright, so we got the parts off the bandsaw. And if you don't know why I'm rebuilding that, you mustn't have seen my previous videos. I took it out to cut some oak, and then I just got really fed up. And if you check out my last video, I'll explain some epiphanies that I had that made me realize I really want to rebuild it. Alright, but first, I don't think I'm going to get to welding anytime soon. And it's like 85 degrees, so I'm going to put on some short sleeves. Also, I think I'm going to have to do some lathe work, and long sleeves and lathes are no-no. I mean like the metal lathe, because I've got this part here. And I think this was like a part of a sander or something. So I think I'm going to repurpose this, but I'm going to use a 5/8 inch axle, and this is a 1/2 inch bore. So I'm going to have to bore this out. And I also need to put something here that's like centered for mounting the cymbals to. Okay, I need to know how to arrange these pulleys. So let's measure here first. Let's see what we got. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to mark how long the belt is on here. Then we're going to measure this. I don't know if pulleys are measured the same way as gears, but in gears there's an idea of a datum diameter. And this is basically the active diameter. This is about let's call it 6 1/4 inches. So that's roughly the circumference, but it's the circumference of a belt around that pulley. And so there's like somewhere in here is the true circle that'll give you a radius of 6 1/4 inches, and that circle has a diameter called the datum diameter. And it's useful if you know all your datums to compare pulley to pulley, and then you can figure out what your ratios are. This one sits in there a lot further. So that's the other reason you gotta actually put the belt in, because some of them ride higher or lower depending on the pulley. Okay, and this one is, say, 18 3/4. Alright, so it turns out that this smallest pulley on this set is almost exactly the same as this small pulley. So this is 6 1/4 inch circumference, 18 3/4, 6 1/4, and 25 3/4. So get the calculator out. We get 4.12, so about 4. Let's call that 4. That is nowhere near the 35-to-1 speed reduction that we were looking for, but this will give us a 12-to-1. Every project has that part to it that's the most critical or tricky, or if you get wrong, is the least forgiving. For this one, I think it's where the cymbal mounts onto whatever the spinning part is. I like this piece, and it'll be trivial to bore this out to accept a 5/8 inch shaft like I want to use. But then the trickiest part, I think, is mounting the cymbal onto this. And I really don't have a great idea for that. Crap, how am I going to do this? Hey, look at that, a back plate. I've never used this thing before. You can tell because it still has like the packing paper and cosmoline on it. And that means I need to surface it to make sure it's true, because I'm not sure that it is. Yeah, this thing is not true. That is way off. Oil and chips in the face. No good. You hear it's taking a larger cut as it gets closer to the end. Ugh. I hate cutting cast iron. It's such a mess. Right, so now we got something to mount this to, but how do we mount it? Well, we're going to have to drill some holes in here. Or not. Oh, how did I manage that? That's much better. Oh. This drill bit is way too dull. There was something about this goes in here. Go like that? No? Okay. Like that. And this goes in there. That looks like shit. The only problem with that machine is I never remember how to use it every time I take it out. It's a lot better. Oh yeah. It doesn't, there's a, oh man, we gotta drill through this first. See, if you remember, the back of this plate, there's only a small hole, so I need to make a half-inch hole all the way through, and then I can bore it out to 5/8. Oh, this whole thing is moving backwards. Oh, yeah, okay. Great. Oh, much better. Oh. Wow. So this is a tool I ground myself, and I'm just going to take some passes along the top with a diamond sharpening plate, because I think there's a little bit of a burr there. If I get that off, it should be nice and sharp. Okay, so what I like to do is kind of work up to the diameter. These calipers are nice because you can measure the outside here. And then this side is the interior measurement. It's going to be the same, so I can use this as a gauge to kind of see how far I have to go. Alright, so we're getting close. Yeah, see, that's already going in, and we don't want that. I want to work up to this diameter and have it go in very tightly. Oh, ha! Surprise, surprise. We're there already. And it wiggles. Damn it! I'm just mad because I spent so much time to try and get that perfect. And, Okay, so the only other thing this needs is keyway. Now this doesn't have to be very precise. I think I can cut it out with a jigsaw even. Oh, is this a terrible idea? Well, it's a good start. I'm not completely crazy though. I think I'm gonna finish this up with a file. So of course I couldn't find the file. So I just used the jigsaw, but then I came up with kind of an ingenious idea. As I was putting in the key, it was binding up, and so I tried to bang it in a little bit, and I looked on the other side and I saw that it was kind of pushing away some of the aluminum. So what I did was I took the key out, actually sharpened it on the grinding stone, and I don't know if you can see in there. Now I'm hammering it in, and it's shaving the last little bit of aluminum out of the way. Can you see that? It's acting as its own cutter. Ah, yes! All the way through. This thing doesn't wiggle now. Alright, back at the lathe, because the last part we have to do, I think, is to drill and tap this axle here. Alright, here's my super dull 1/4 inch tap. Oh, here goes nothing. This is horrible. Oh boy. Please don't break. Well, here it is all mounted up. It's got about a 1/2 millimeter of play. Some of that could have been this rough surface. It could also be I only have a 3-jaw chuck here, so this might not be completely straight. I think that might work. So it turns out I was mistaken. I don't have bearings for this shaft. I only have one pair of 5/8 bearings. The other ones I have are 3/4. I gotta make a bushing. So I'm just gonna put a hole through this 3/4 inch aluminum rod. This isn't a complete tight fit in here, but it's pretty close. And we saw what happened when I tried to make an exact fit for a shaft to go in a hole before. So I'm just gonna drill this out to 5/8 inch pretty much, and should be able to call it a day. These grub screws that hold the shaft in place, I might replace them with longer ones and drill holes in the bushing, because when you tighten these on, especially aluminum, it's going to get wedged and smushed in there, and you're going to have a hell of a time getting it out. So if it just goes through the aluminum bushing onto the shaft, it should secure it pretty well. And I might need to find some longer ones of these, but otherwise I think this will work. So I'm gonna drill more holes on the lathe. Alright, well we got all the pulleys, all the shafts, all the bearings, everything's all assembled. I found some belts here, and I even wired up the motor here. I put a little switch on it so I can turn it on and off. Got it going in the right direction. But I'm afraid we're going to have to make this a two-parter, guys. I am beat. This took way longer than I thought it was going to, and it's getting dark and I'm starving. Next time, basically all we got left is we got to build a frame, and we have to mount all these things. And now that's the other tricky part, is so I measured the distances I need between each shaft here, the motor, the intermediate shaft, and then the drive shaft for the cymbal or whatever's going to be on it. And I need to do some thinking. I got to come up with a design where everything's spaced correctly, and I want it to be able to like clamp onto a bench. So I got to think about it a little bit before I go start welding stuff up. So I got some notes here, and yeah, gonna draw it up. And stay tuned for next time. We're gonna cut some metal, make a frame, bolt this stuff all together, and then turn it on, and hopefully not cut a finger off. So if you're not a subscriber, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell if you want to be notified when I have new videos that come out. And as always, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time. Really jumps. All right.